yeah, looking up the emotion in a book is one thing, but then it becomes more cognitive than you tuning into what is my body, the wisdom of my body telling me. So I want to take you through a little exercise to start. So I want you to get comfortable in your seat, and I just want you to start getting clear with your breath. Take a moment, breathe in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. And just start to notice as you inhale and exhale. Just run a little body scan through your body. Start from the top of your head and just notice, where is there tension, tightness, stuckness in your body? Notice where you feel a bit of a closing. So even if you feel like your shoulders are pulled back, your head's aligned, notice if your heart feels a little shut off to the world. Notice if you feel tightness in your belly. Notice if you feel a little tension in your shoulders. Notice if you have a stiff neck. Notice if you feel a little immovability in your hips or a cramp in your toes. Just start to notice as you take that body scan from your head all the way down through your body. Just what feels closed. And then take another couple of deep breaths in. Completely inviting in a little sound. And just come back to present. Maybe you wiggle it out, shake it out. And here's how we identify where stuck emotions exist in the body. It's wherever you felt that close. It's wherever your body just didn't feel a yes or an open or a space to receive. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just feedback. It's just your body telling you no. And no is one of the most powerful words that we can hear when it comes to our body, because it's just saying, no, thank you. It's saying, no, this energy is present and here, and you ultimately get to decide if you want to move it or work with it. Resistance isn't a bad thing. It's actually one of your greatest teachers. And this is where real embodiment begins. So, taking a moment to get clear on if you felt tightness in your shoulders, right? Where can you start to get curious on what shapes, what movements your body wants to move through? And releasing that energy. And notice I'm yawning. And so there's lots of different ways that emotion will be moved through your body. It could be through a yawn, it could be through a cough, it can be through moving gas, like a belch or a tube. It can be a sound, as we talked about. It can be a gurgle in your belly. It can be actually even noticing, right? Like a release of like tension in your muscles. Hopefully, no clicking, because that sounds like bones and stuff. So we don't want any like clicking per se in your body. But get curious on, how does your body want to move that energy through your breath, through movement, or through sound. So if I had a little tightness of my shoulders, I might just do some shoulder raises, right? Just inhaling all the way up, feeling the tension and the tightness. And then on 3, 2, 1, exhaling, and just feeling how far I can just like let them go and release. That might be one way you move it. It might be, like I said, dancing with your shoulders and just seeing what kind of shapes How do you want to maybe expand your arms out and fold them in? Maybe you just gently even bring your hands to your body and you massage out your shoulders or your neck, right? I know I feel a little, ooh, I feel a deep tightness in my right shoulder. And it's also my dominant shoulder for when I pole dance. So that's kind of obvious too. So I sometimes even just like to jam the pole right into my shoulder and I use it to massage out. You can do that on a door jam if you felt like it, if you didn't have a pole. Some people love getting massages. I know I personally do. And there's also got to be simple ways that you can connect with your body it in a moment where you're feeling stuckness, tightness in those areas. Now, I'd love to talk about the hips because one of the greatest spaces that women tend to hold emotional trauma, energy that doesn't serve them is in their hips. And there's a lot of symbolism around that if you think about it. So, as women, we are given wider hips than men. And there's a purpose for that. As women, we're able to give birth. And so our hips must be wider in order to partake in, if we choose, childbirth. And so our hips, which, symbolize our creativity, they symbolize this area of our sacral chakra, which is all about flow and pleasure and expression of ourselves. It's literally the emotional body that lives in that sacral center, right? It's how we're connected to our tribe, our family, to the world at large. You can imagine there's a lot of responsibility that can get tied up and stored in our hips. And by responsibility, I'm talking like the weight of the world, right? Some people feel it in their shoulders, some people feel it in their hips. And it's getting curious around, okay, well, where is that tightness and that stuckness? And again, how do you maybe put yourself in a pigeon pose or move your hips in a swirling, circly shape? How do you maybe stretch into a side body pose, right? From side to side, really letting your hips move in that direction. There is emotion that is stuck in many places in your body, and that's not something to be feared. Emotion is just energy that is asking to be moved, aka in motion. And so when there's that energy and that stuckness, it's just important to get curious around what do you label it as? And I know Louise Hay has a really amazing book about looking up all the different parts of the body, right? That maybe you feel something, and then getting curious around what the meaning of it is. And I found it to be pretty valid and true, right? Like a lot of anger can exist in your lower back, right? Hips can be, grief, or they can also be, again, tension and trauma from something that we're holding on to from the past. Grief can also be held in the lungs, right? Or in our upper body, shoulders, even. So, yes, there's one way in which you can utilize a resource of that book. And there's also the wisdom and the intuition of your body and getting curious around, well, what emotion am I feeling stuck in? Whether that's in fully expressing it, even saying out loud, I feel this, but start to get curious. Like, instead of being logical or rational about what you feel like you're experiencing, like naming the emotion, even per se, get clear on what's the sensation you're feeling in your body. So if you feel tightness in your hip, what does that tightness feel like? Is it on the left side or is it on the right side? Okay, it's on the left side. Where specifically in your hip are you feeling it? Oh, I kind of feel it like right along my IT band. Okay, got it. What what does that tightness feel like? Is it painful? No, it's just kind of present and there. Like feels like a tight wound up rubber band ball. Great. Like I have now imagery to that experience? Like, is it something you can hold? Is it hot to the touch? Is it cool to the touch? Is it a little spiky? Is it just something that needs to be kind of witnessed and held space for? Does it maybe need a little massaging out? Does it need conscious breath to it? There's so many ways to get really curious on the sensation. Notice I'm saying the word, like, you have to tap into your senses on a whole, even, 5D dimensional level of understanding what's present here. Yeah, looking up the emotion in a book is one thing, but then it becomes more cognitive than you tuning into what is my body, the wisdom of my body telling me, and how can I be with it? How can I notice it, hold space for it, and just gently love it? The thing about specific areas also where our body holds tension and tightness is recognizing that as a human species, we can tend to be more clued into our pain than our pleasure. And just notice that. It's not a bad thing. It's not even a good thing. It's just we've been functioned to pay attention to our pain more than our pleasure. And what's great about just the sensation and feeling into the process is the more conscious you can play with monitoring where you feel tension, where you feel tightness before it's way too late and you're like, oh my God, I must get a massage, or I must slow down, or oh my God, I've been burnt out and now I'm sick in bed. Like, before your body gets to that point of overdrive, overwhelm, burnout, when you can be in a conscious practice of listening to your body, the greatest gift of you understanding and knowing yourself exceeds. The gift of being in a conscious practice like this is also having that relationship with yourself to be able to move and flex and change in a way that really serves you in your life, because you're actually allowing emotion to do what it wants to do, which is to be energy moving and rippling through your body. So you don't need to fear your emotional experience. Your emotions are here to bring life to your experience. Your emotions are what make you human. Your emotions actually are what make you attractive. There's more evidence now in research studies around dating. Men find emotional intelligence the most attractive quality over physical, over your intelligence, your intellect, your emotional intelligence, how you can carry yourself and hold yourself and move through your emotional landscape within. That's the greatest gift that you have. So I invite you to get really curious around what that looks like. And if you really truly feel stuck and you're like, Megumi, I need to understand the different emotions that I experience in my body. I feel emotionally illiterate. I don't have as much emotional intelligence to understand what it would be like to move these emotions, how to move the energy, how to even understand what's the difference between my sadness or my anger sometimes, because they've been so convoluted in my life. I totally hear you. I get you. And so I highly invite you to check out my Embodying Emotions 6-week course. So this is where you get to understand joy, sadness, anger, lust, fear, and courage. Because I find that these are the 6 kind of primal emotions that live within us that we need to understand and fully embrace so that we can create all that we want and more in life. So in week 1, it's all about amplifying joy. So how do you create more of that joy in your life? How do you get to breathe in the essence of what it brings? And then we'll swing to the opposite end of the spectrum and we will embrace your sadness, where loss and grief live in your body, where that heaviness kind of tends to exist, and how to move through that. In week 3, you'll understand anger, how that fiery energy, when you are feeling that intense heat, is actually a beautiful gift of understanding your no in your body. And then you will awaken lust, And you'll learn more about the sensual movement and really tuning deeper into the senses and the feeling state of your body. Because life shouldn't just be about all the pain that we endure. We get to experience the pleasure. Week 5, you get to confront fear. Fear is one of the most interesting emotions because I think behind fear is really nothing. And then love is everything. And so when you can understand the fear that lives in your body, the breakthrough on the other side is the love that you get to experience for the life that you have and the life that you're living. And that really brings us into courage, right? Because on the opposite side of fear is your courage, your willingness to step through the unknown and to take on and embrace what is possible. And it takes that courageous step. It takes harnessing that bit of emotion, which feels like the rainbow of all the other ones combined. So it's a beautiful and in-depth course where I'm guiding you. You're learning different meridian points to like hold and release. You're learning where a lot of this emotion is stored. It might serve you in that way. And then there's gentle exercises to really be with and have moments of practice to surrender into those states. So I invite you to check it out. You can comment below, you can message me, and I'll make sure that you have the link.
I would love to know, what did you think of this video? Please comment below, what were your greatest takeaways? What is that golden nugget that sat with you that you are taking out and into the world? Because let's face it, transformation only occurs when you're willing to take action on it. So share below. That will ensure that you have really taken in this wisdom and you're going to amplify it in your life. And of course, if you loved this content, subscribe. And then you can always check your notifications so that you get all content that comes through. Because one of my greatest pleasures is to be able to see this energy being amplified and rippled into the world.